everyone? Welcome back to Autocorrect Primer. Yes, I look like I am been on a cruise or like I'm like going to the Bahamas, looking around the world today. I am very, very excited. I got my good friend here with me right now, which is Lord Master Starscream. How are you doing, my friend?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. And where we love us some what?
I know, right? Some toys, but
nope, some Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, exactly.
Well,
so
welcome back to Autocorrect Primer, and where we love us some what? Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about the topic. Let me see. I'm trying to make sure I got everything.
You really want to get back on the Bigfoot topic, huh?
I do. I do. I reached out to Baby Mahal, see if she'd be able to join us tonight. She's having some things she's taking care of, and hopefully she'll be able to join us in a little while. My computer wants to act like it's got all the time in the world to do what it wants to do. And I'm like, no, you need to do what I want you to do. Yes, we're going to talk about Bigfoot. We're going to talk about Bigfoot and the Nephilim connection. So I'm really excited about this. I got the big old Yeti behind us right now. So yeah,
looks scary too.
No, he does. He does. I actually found this show today on Hulu, which is called Sasquatch, and it is a true crime documentary series of investigation by this guy named David Hothouse, excuse me, as he attempts to solve a bizarre murder of three Hispanic workers that were killed allegedly by Bigfoot himself in 1993. So I figured we would talk about Bigfoot tonight. I got some things I'm going to have pulled up for us to take a look at with the big controversy. It's interesting. I took a nap today. Still not 100% better yet, but getting there overall. And yeah, I was like, well, I woke up, had a dream about a Bigfoot, then saw this program, and I was like, well, crap, man, I guess this is what I'm going to be talking about tonight or today.
Bigfoot night.
Bigfoot. So, as everything is now wanting to run extremely slow here at the house, I think I'm froze up for some reason. Do you mind if I turn that off for now? So, yeah.
Any other devices connected to Wi-Fi?
That's what I'm checking right now.
Yeah, I'm modifying. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just think it's funny that my internet works really good, but then if it gets too hot or if it rains and the humidity is too high, internet here where we live does not want to work correctly, but we pay for the high speed internet. Thank you, Windstream, for this wonderful high speed internet where it says we're still paused. Let's see. Guess take that off.
Clink. Oh my god.
Oh, the kitty's eating.
Yep, she's scratching her, itching herself or whatever, and every time she does, she vibrates the cage, and the glass bowls just start clink, 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 clink.
That's funny.
And all that. So
I'm waiting to see if we're still broadcasting.
It says we're live for me. It has the little live thing, and it says count, and it's counting down.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, you're frozen for me now. Let me check the stream. Maybe it's I'm gonna check my thing.
Is your phone maybe on Wi-Fi or anything?
Let me see here.
Let me see my phone for a sec. I don't need cellular. Let's see. All right. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, you're frozen for me. I'm checking myself right now.
There we go.
Let me do this.
Yep. All right, so we're back up. It just took it a second. It was wanting to be fickled, and so
it's working now.
Yeah. So we were.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, I'm modifying my Mechagodzilla's legs because on how small his foot was going towards the leg, he started to tip over because his little toes here are on those little joints. And I had to
Oh,
modify it anyways to kind of give him that little heel thing right there, like what dinosaurs do, because they kind of have that little thing going on when they step.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to do some modifying on that.
Yeah,
I managed to wake you up.
You did, actually.
And to get you, like, hey boy, get your butt up. You gotta do a stream. Yeah, I would have done it on my channel, but I figure kind of since you haven't been feeling better, I didn't want to take the reins, so I thought you know what, might as well let him have his welcome back.
Show you a picture that I found the other day.
Full screen yourself.
That's a good idea.
That way. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's me and Nikki early on in our marriage.
You and Nikki? Wow.
Yep.
Awesome, man. That's cool.
I know. I was like, look at them babies. Them little babies.
You got the baby face.
I do. I was like, wow, that is definitely the baby face, big time baby face. I was like, wow. So let's see. We're going to take a look at some things dealing with Bigfoot. Now, yes.
Oh, when I was scrolling through Facebook, and people know you're not getting my Facebook information, that I have a lot of private stuff on there. Anyways, I was trying to say, I've been seeing prayers, and I'm sure Nikki has been told you. Do you think we ought to have a prayer moment for Baby Mahal or something like that? Because
we can. I actually prayed for her before I got started tonight. But let's go ahead. Lord Jesus, I ask that you be with our friends and family that's out there. Be with Baby Mahal and things that's going on, and please take care of her and be with all the situations that people are dealing with at different times. In Jesus' name we pray, and be with us tonight on this topic. In your name we pray. Shalom Shalom. So,
and now, let there be no trolls. Amen.
Yeah. I'm not too
protect us from the trolls.
Yeah. I'm actually not too worried about the trolls. I kind of think that
I was going to say this right off the bat. Let me get this out of the way before I forget. I think it's how I'm just pretty much after, I think last week when that girl came on and started like, no, the sun, the earth, this, la, la, la. I'm just saying, after thinking about that when you were starting the stream, I was like, I think I'm enjoying how mad people are getting towards us for no reason, because they want to change our opinions. I just think it's funny.
Well, it's the whole thing where, and it was like, I'm getting bullied, and I'm thinking, well, your greatest thing about YouTube is that there's a button you can click and you can go to someone else's.
Put them in timeout.
Yeah. You don't actually have to stay within that live stream because, well, you chose to be in the live stream. You chose to be in the comments. So, you don't like how the host handles something, then just leave.
Yeah.
That's the easy thing to do.
And this is our opinions. You're entitled to your opinion. So there you go. Go ahead.
No. I mean, that's a great thing about this is, let me see. I'm trying to type in Sasquatch. My brain is not wanting to work today. So give me a second. Tired. Tomorrow we'll be doing some things down at the land. Do a little bit of stuff down there. I saw that there was someone that was doing doing a Lego, or apparently Lego may be coming out with a
Sonic?
Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla figures coming out.
I'll be shocked if they do that. I think the reason why they're unable to do it is because licensing from Toho and all that stuff. And someone that builds Legos, like you could build stuff like this and you could send them to the, I guess, a Lego community or something like that. If they get plenty of votes or whatever, then you could actually get them made into a set. And from what I heard, this guy that made a Lego Sonic set, I think the build got plenty of votes that it could get made into a set.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Because the only Lego Sonic thing I know of is the Lego Dimension thing.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think it would be good seller
Hey,
having
Ruben.
Lego Godzilla stuff.
And don't forget, Ruben has his giveaway going on his channel. So go check out his channel and see what the giveaway. I think it's around a $50 gift card. So yeah, if see what it's all about and go check it out. I think it'll be really cool topic. And anytime you help out the community the best you can, that's always a good thing too. Now, when we come with dealing with the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, if you will, a lot of things is, you have a lot that is, circumstantial, or there's not a lot of, to the scientific community, not a lot of evidence, or because they haven't found the body yet, feels that is something that is absolutely needed. But as a hunter, going hunting, going out in the woods, I don't walk across areas that I find bobcat remains, or even I find even bears. I know the bears live where we live. I mean, we have bears where we are. So
you know what I think is crazy?
What's that?
That's a good point right there. I've been watching videos, and I saw a video not too long ago. I think a couple months ago. I can't remember. I don't know what state it is, but there's some people, like, where there's mountain lion warnings, like signs and all that stuff, where people go hiking or bike riding. They just simply ignore the signs or something like that. And when it says, warning, there have been mountain lions and bears and whatever sighted in this area, be careful. And they don't care. They just go out and do whatever. Not even caring. I'm like, wow.
And that's human nature. I mean, human nature does that. I mean, thinks that we are immortal, that we will not have to, that death is not going to be something that's going to be on our doorstep. We think that we'll be able to survive anything. And it's just that having that mortality where we think we're immortal mindset, we don't recognize the danger sometimes we put ourselves in. And the topic, the reason why I want to talk about this is that the show is actually on Hulu right now, and it is called Sasquatch, and it's dealing with, and is a crime documentary. But what really got my attention with it was the guy, he sat there and he was talking about marijuana, and he's talking about having the marijuana plants in the farms that's up in the northern part of California, and saying, all of a sudden back in the year 93, there was a crackdown that was taking place called Camp. And then what it was
crackdown.
It was a crackdown. It really was. It was the military and our U.S. government was swooping in and burning up all the marijuana plants and harvesting. And so, but at the same time, what that ended up doing is that you ended up having gangs and people that that were not hippies any longer, where hippies were growing marijuana, selling it to their friends and their neighbors or whatever. And now it became that the little people, the little hippies, could no longer do it because Big Brother was coming and watching them and was taking away their profit and taking away all their stuff. And cartels came in and the Hells Angels came in. So you would hear rumors of these different camps and different places of these farms, of marijuana farms, and they were ran by Hells Angels and stuff like that. And people would disappear and die. But back in 1993, there was a very odd warning that went out to the growers, and that was to the guys and stuff as the growers were saying that a Sasquatch killed 3 people and ripped them in half and just brutally murdered these individuals. Well, come to find out, there was 3 individuals, 3 Hispanics, Mexican nationalities, that had come up here trying to get money, work, send money back home. And And it wasn't a warning saying that, hey, the cartels and the, Hell's Angels did this to these guys. No, it's a Sasquatch. Be careful. There's a hairy man up there that has just brutally killed 3 people. And this happened in 1993. And the crazy thing is that in 1993, I was going through chemotherapy. And Bigfoot had, through the History Channel, stuff like that, has started to hit, the circuits, and people started paying more attention to the hairy man. In South Carolina, there was an event that took place around this time that was called the Lizard Man. And there was an entity that looked like a reptilian human. The story starts off with this gentleman. This is a teenager. He's driving and he stops at the stop sign. And when he does, it's in the country road. And I know where I live, the country roads, man, you're gonna see some weird stuff come out.
Oh boy.
Coyote or deer or even a bobcat itself. And so you're going to see these animals coming by and will cross the street. Well, in South Carolina, it was believed that this kid had a lizard man attacked his car, and investigation went out. The scratches and the damage and the stuff that was done to the hood, the roof, and the back of the car, the claw marks and everything, left the local police stunned. And the tracks that were found, still to this day, people are like, what was this? And I remember as a kid, going around, and the t-shirts that went around saying, I survived the lizard man. And so, and where we live, there is the Black Swamp. So there is a swamp area, and it had always been in folk tales and in First Nation people tales that there were these creatures, whether they be the hairy creatures or these reptilian creatures that lived within the swamp. And there's a story that was told to me by my grandparents that back in the late 40s, early 50s, the circus came through town, and they happened to stop in one of the local areas, and they put on a show. Well, they also was allowing their animals, to go to and fro, but a lot of them decided they were going to go out into the swamp area, and they were going to go, searching food, because this was the circus, So a lot of times it wasn't that you had a fast food restaurant. It's not like you were going to walk down the street and there was a McDonald's. No, there was actually, you had to either buy it at the local farm area or the local grocery store, or you went and did your own gleaning, is what it's called. In the South, you're allowed to glean after the farm we're supposed to leave. And it's interesting because it comes from the Bible also, that after you harvest, thank you, sweetheart, after you harvest, you are to leave a row at the edge of your field, and that is to allow the widows and the orphans and the homeless people to come by and be able to gather that food. They're allowed to glean, and that means they gather enough food that would be nourishment for them, not for them to take and sell. And so this is still a trait that goes on today. You still have a lot of the cotton farmers, and not so much the tobacco farmers don't do this anymore, but your cotton farmers, your corn, and sometimes your soybeans will, farmers will leave that because that is a thing. And so at this time, the closest thing was the river, which is known as the PD River. And hello, T.E.A. fan geek. And so at the PD River, the circus people, were going to go fishing, and they were going to lay down traps, and they were going to catch things. And then there was also the Black Swamp that they were going to. Well, in the tales, is believed that they stirred something up. They caused something to come out of the swamp, something to come out, because they went in, they invaded its territory, they invaded its home, And so with that, and I'm going to do this real quick. So if anybody wants to jump in, because I was going to put it in Discord, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to put it into the chat here. I thought I'd already done so, but I had not. Sorry about that, Ruben and T.E.A. Fan Geek. If y'all want to jump in and be on the topic tonight dealing with Bigfoot and some of the stories I'm going to be sharing tonight. And so what ended up happening is that there is a place that is known as Peachland. Now it is still today one of the country areas, and it was believed that when the circus came through and they messed with the swamp and stuff, that something came out. Now there was the town drunk that lived out in those areas and in that wooded area, and he disappeared. I remember, being taught how to go, camping and how to make my own fire, how to, you always, even if you didn't have a firearm, you had a axe or knife or something. Hey, T.E.A. Fan Geek, welcome tonight. We're talking about Bigfoot and some things that took place in California back in '93. So yeah,
Bigfoot. He's always popped in and out of our backyard.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I hate to admit it, but when I was a kid, I was afraid of Bigfoot. But part of the main reason why that is because when I was 8 years old, I saw a documentary about Bigfoot on the Discovery Channel, and whether or not cryptids like a bipedal ape are real. And when they show Bigfoot, they showed a close-up of a gorilla roaring, and that footage terrified me. So that's the reason I was afraid of Bigfoot as a kid.
Well, I tell people even today, I don't share this a lot with a lot of people, but I am a Bigfoot researcher.
Oh yeah.
And cryptoid, that science, encrypted that science doesn't acknowledge. It was like with you. I'm sharing the story. What happened with me when I was a kid was known as the Lizard Man. That was believed it came out of South Carolina, out of the swamps, and also during this time back in the late 40s, early 50s, you had this hairy beast that had come out of the swamps because, like I was sharing, was that there was a circus that had come through. So when I was growing up, my grandparents were very outdoory. Matter of fact, Nikki's outdoorsy. Nikki's no, Dora the Explorer. I look like Dora the Explorer with my little hat on.
My gosh. I'm going to say this real quick before you continue. Yeah. That TikTok video with no. I don't think I could watch Dora ever again. That one TikTok video you did. No, I don't think I'm watching it ever. It ruined me. That was creepy with the backpack. Like, what the heck you do? Who are they going to believe? A small, innocent child or a backpack that stopped? Oh, my God.
This dog's a little girl. So
go ahead.
So when I was growing up, if you were going to go out in the woods, you had to know how to make your own personal fire. If it came that way, you also had to have either a little hatchet or a knife or something that you had on your body that you took with you. Just some type of tool, not something to hunt with or anything like that, but just something to have with you that you would have to use if you have to defend yourself against some animals, because there's some animals that would be,
Yeah, we had a scare of a genuine animal here a couple of years ago. There was because we got some, even though we live right on the beach, just a few miles from us are the mountains, and whenever we're in a drought, to this day, we don't know how they managed to do it without being seen until they're right down by the beach. We get mountain lions that sneak into the city trying to find fresh water to drink, and for a while they couldn't get this one mountain lion because it was still a juvenile, and it was small enough that it could dart in and out of alleyways and garbage cans without being detected. And I think it took like 5 animal control members to finally tranquilize it and get it onto a truck, because even though it was young, it was a pretty good sized mountain lion.
Oh yeah, that happened when we had a big drought that was here. We had the bobcats and mountain lions that had come down because the only thing for a while we had was the river waters, and they were coming down also, and it was amazing. You're thinking a big metropolitan Charlotte, North Carolina, wouldn't have a scare of a mountain lion walking down the main streets of Charlotte, North Carolina, and they did. So yeah, animals, if they need water, they're going to find where they can get that water.
Oh yeah, because like here in Southern California, we haven't had it in our city, thank goodness. But the towns north and south of us, they even had black bears come down from the backwoods trying to find water.
Now, see that's the thing. Like I was sharing with Lord Master Starscream, is that there are bears, black bears especially, that's around these areas that we live in.
Yeah, we don't have grizzly bears here in Southern California because they're extinct in this area now. They don't.
Yeah.
And scientists have tried to reintroduce grizzly bears. This area doesn't work. They hate the environment. It's not a place for them to live anymore. So yeah, the California grizzly bear, it's on our state flag. It's been extinct since the 19th century.
Yep, it has. And there's so much places. See, there's not enough. And back in the 80s and early 90s, they were trying to reintroduce them back into the natural habitat. The reason why they couldn't do it is that y'all have already built up so many cities. There wasn't enough berries and enough produce for them to be able to glean and eat from, and animals. So yeah, that happens. And then they will move into areas. We went down to the land just the other day, and I just found a whole game trail of deer that goes right through our land. And I was like, it wasn't just one deer, it's a whole bunch of them. And I felt bad because we had cleared out a certain area a little bit bigger than I wanted to, but we had cleared that area out. And apparently, the wildlife that was living inside this area that was inside the little town our land was the little forest that was right there. And and it does happen. But back to my story. So there was this belief that and so what ended up happening is the town drunk was complaining to the sheriff, saying that at night he was having this creature that would howl and beat on his house. Now, you got to think, this is back in the late 40s, early 50s. He's a town drunk. He lives out in the woods. He lives in a shack that he's built from the wood. And
of course, you would think he's crazy and drunk.
I just lost the word. I was thinking about it. Where someone wants to live alone, a hermit.
A hermit.
Describe him. Is that what you would describe him as, being a hermit?
Yeah, a hermit. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so he would come in town, and then what was ended up happening is that he was sleeping in town and there's only this little road at the time. It had just recently been paved, and there was a little convenience store, and sheriff was making his rounds, and he kept finding him sleeping there. And he's like, why are you can't be in the cities in this area here. Why are you sleeping on the streets? You can't sleep here on the streets. You've got a place, and he was like, I'm too scared to go back out there. And so the officer thought he was drunk, took him in. He says, I'm gonna let you sleep in the jail tonight. And so about every night he was showing up at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, the jailhouse.
The jailhouse, looking to be allowed in to sleep.
I wonder if that story is what inspired the Andy Griffith Show.
It's interesting because Andy Griffin and stuff of that, he actually lived here. Andy Griffin actually lived around here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I got to see him when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen episodes of both the Andy Griffith Show and what was the other show that he did?
Matlock.
Matlock, that was it, yeah. I've seen episodes of both shows, and they're entertaining for what they are. The Andy Griffith Show, where he's like in a town so small it only needs 2 policemen.
And that's how this was. This exactly this is how it was. You had a sheriff that was the full time, and then you had your part-time deputy. And it wasn't a really big area, so the circus had come through and the circus had left. So the sheriff was thinking, did a wild animal from the circus that came through, did they lose a wild animal? Because we just had exotic animals and stuff. So the sheriff goes out to the hermit, like best way to say, the home, to his shack out in the woods. And it's documented. You can actually look this story up. And it's documented that the sheriff is not able to tell what type of animals out there yelling and screaming, but it's like nothing that he's ever heard before.
Wow.
And what really is the shocker is that all of a sudden the hermit guy didn't come back to the jail every night, and several days had passed by and no one had seen him in the town. And the sheriff was like, well, he's literally been coming almost every night to sleep in the jail. And he's done things where I would have to put him in the jail. I just couldn't just open it up to him. But, he peed out in public, or he was drinking on the side of the road, stuff like that.
Petty crime.
Yeah. And so it was not like they were going to do anything like throw the book at the guy. But he hadn't been shown up at all. And no one had seen him. And this is in Peachland. So the sheriff goes out to his shack out in the woods. And then there is a manhunt. The shack has an axe that's stuck in the side of the wall of the door frame with blood and fur. The door has been knocked off its hinges. The shack itself has been ransacked, and there's actually a scene of a struggle of a fight. And so it was thinking that a bear had come in. And maybe it was a bear that got loose from the circus, and there was a search for him, and he was never found. And here's the crazy thing too: there's a plaque that's set up where a troop of Boy Scouts encountered a creature. And this plaque still stays up where they were actually, it's their tomb. You had Boy Scouts in this area. And so this became a big manhunt. It was to say, okay, there's a bear, it's rabid, it's maybe got rabies, maybe because it's been on the circus. It doesn't know how to fend for itself. It comes up to humans, it's starving, it's eating, and it's killing people now.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Autocorrect Primer.
No. Go right ahead.
I saw a documentary once. I think it was back in either 86 or 87 here in California. They had, was it Oregon? No, it might have been Oregon, because there was a report of this woman and her teenage son. They went to this like public hot springs. And waiting in the shadows was a grizzly bear that had developed a taste for human flesh, and it attacked them and ate part of their bodies. And the forest rangers have said, and this is still a national law today, that if evidence is found of a bear that's developed a taste for human flesh, all park rangers are ordered to kill it on sight, because they don't want to have an outbreak of bears attacking human people as a source of food. And so they eventually tracked this bear. After it attacked this woman and her son, it attacked 3 more people. And right when it was attacking a group of tourists, that's when the park rangers finally caught up to it. And I think it took like 20 shots to bring the bear down, because it was a huge bear.
And a lot of people don't realize this, but a 9mm or 22 is not going to stop a bear.
Oh no! Most standard bullets, they aren't strong enough to kill down grizzly bears.
No, and they got thick hides. They got the fur, thick hides.
Yeah.
Then you got muscle. Then you got really strong bone skeleton. I mean,
Oh yeah, because they got the rib cage protects the heart and the lungs, so the vital organs. You have to get a bullet through fur, hide, flesh, muscle tissue, and bone marrow before you get at the heart of a bear.
Yep.
And even if you're lucky enough to get just one shot, you're not going to kill the bear. You're going to injure it, and you're going to just make it angry.
Yes.
I mean,
They're
and
they're
what's
on
that,
that
Lord
crocodile. They're on that alligator or crocodile stuff where they have that armor and all that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And so it was then believed that maybe there was some things, people's small animals were disappearing, farm animals such as sheep. You had cattle that ended up disappearing. You had guard dogs, which were sheep dogs, and hounds that were now turning up missing. There had been a curfew that had been issued that if you were going to be out and about, you had to have somebody with you. It was strongly emphasized that you didn't go out at night. And if you did go out at night, you didn't go out where you weren't armed. And still to this day, it's still a big mystery. I mean, when I sit here and I look back at that time and what's going on in that area, it kind of sparked a little interest in me because, you've got this thing dealing with the lizard man. Then you have this hairy creature that is literally attacking and killing people, if that's the case. But the crazy thing is that as fast as it happened, it ended. And then all of a sudden there's another place that is in North Carolina, which is called Troy, North Carolina, which is, I think, like 4 or 5, maybe 3.5, 4 hours away from the area that this originated from in Peachland. They started having these pictures and these things showing that there was this white, hairy, humanoid, grayish white creature that was up there, and that still to this day the mystery is it is believed by Bigfoot researchers that are around here that we were dealing with a Bigfoot that must have gotten old. Maybe was the alpha was maybe pushed out of his pack or whatever, and he was trying to survive the way he could, but was intelligent enough to be able to stay away from hunters and was able to travel up north into a more deep wooded forest area up in that area there. So yeah, it's interesting. So in your area in California in 1993, there's an investigation that's going on right now that in 93, 3 Hispanic men were brutally killed by a Sasquatch. And the police didn't take it seriously. They thought it was gang on gang violence, or that it happened in these areas where they have these marijuana farms.
Oh yeah. And
so right now there's a story that's going out right now that a lot of those old-timey farmers that were the hippies before you had the Hells Angels and the other cartels that came in through the drug cartels, they took those over, that said you go to the top of the I think it was like Skylight Mountain or something like that. I have to go back and look and see the name of the area, but
because that's a crime that has never stopped here. Like, I remember one time in Los Angeles, it was near the outskirts of the city. This person was, they were like consuming, like, I think 200, this happened back in the late 90s when I was a kid. They were consuming, I believe, like $200 worth of electricity each week, and they were only paying $200 of electricity for a month. So they were only paying between 1/4 to 1/5 of the electricity they were consuming. And so the police finally got a warrant for the search why these guys were were consuming so much electricity and not paying for it when they were taking electricity off the power grid. So they bust into the house and they come to this one door that won't open, and so they get a blowtorch and some tools to melt the lock. They bang the door open, and they finally found the reason why these guys were stealing so much electricity. They turned one of the rooms of this home into a greenhouse, and the greenhouse was filled with just one plant.
Wow.
Marijuana. So that's why they were stealing so much electricity. They were growing their own marijuana indoors since they couldn't grow it outside, and they had like all these heaters to like make the air the temperature necessary for the marijuana on a weed to survive. And that's when they realized that marijuana could be grown anywhere by the drug dealers.
Oh yeah, it is a big thing. I mean, there's even where we live on the other side of the state. When you get more up towards the mountains, there's certain parts of the mountains you don't go walk by yourself because you want to come across one of these farms because, well, you might not come home.
Yeah,
it is that. That's
and
serious.
That's one of the reasons why here in California, stories of like creatures and unknown, and like things that are unknown to people, we don't really get them around that here because there's been so many human criminals that have committed horrendous crimes here in California. We grow up knowing that our fellow men are potentially the most evil creatures stalking the night. So that's why we have laws, and even if the laws aren't enforced, everyone is encouraged when you walk at night to either have a very powerful flashlight or you don't walk alone.
Oh,
even
yes.
Even when you're walking your dog, you don't walk alone.
Yeah.
I remember this one story. It didn't happen here. I hear it happened in another town. This lady was walking her dog, and the dog went to find a spot to go to the bathroom. And while the dog was relieving himself, a man came out of the shadows and tried to steal this lady's wallet, and he tried to mug her. And he didn't realize that the dog she was walking was trained to attack an enemy. And so the moment the dog heard that she was in trouble, he ran right back and he jumped on the guy and bit his arm and didn't let go until the police arrived.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to be careful because there is a lot of, in that area, drug cartels and stuff like this. But I want to share the article right here that's coming from Vogue. Sure. Vogue, this is, I just found this just now. It's the Sasquatch is an unsettling documentary about the dark side of the Golden State. This is going into with the documentary. They're everywhere. It's a small town irony that in a year in which you could be forgiven for wanting to leave reality behind, nonfiction has become weirdly and the de jour. Look across the streaming landscape and you'll find a documentary being every night of this week that's going to be on Hulu, which is staying home with COVID. But this is taking place. What this is talking about is that which is dealing with the documentary was done in 2018. Was also with the thing of the Wild Wild Country, and this is dealing with the Sasquatch and also marijuana. This is the location that it took place. It's called the Humboldt, the Trinity, and the Mendocino counties. That's Mendocino. It's in this tri area that is where you had these marijuana farms, and not only marijuana farms, but also in this area is where it's believed that a creature between 6 to 12 feet tall, hairy beast, is believed to not only stalk in the night areas, but also attack people with inside this area of the 3 counties. It's called the Emerald Triangle. The guy that talks about this, that was part of the investigation, his name is David Holthouse. He's made a career of writing about the underworld and crime, but there was a thing that he never shared with anyone. Was when he was back in '93, he was one of the growers in the Holthouse, shaggy hair, and he had heard firsthand that 3 individuals had been killed, not by other farmers, but at the cannabis growers, but was actually killed by a Sasquatch itself. So he started doing research into this, and I think he did it. The reason why he came out now with this, because of statutory of criminalization, stuff like that, has now been. I'm going to make a copy, let this be in the people can read the article themselves if they want to. But the story is that through the statute of limitations, thank you, of dealing with crime and being prosecuted had already passed. So he's decided to come out and share his story. And the one thing he wanted to find out was, is it true that that's allegedly Sasquatch, killed 3 individual guys? And then what ended up happening as he's doing research, he says that if anyone that he would know that would be a reliable source would know the year that it happened. And astounding that you had all these retired farmers who were retired and were no longer doing the marijuana growing, all said the same year, 1993. It was 3 Hispanic men were brutally murdered by a Sasquatch, to the point where they started putting fishing lines with fishing hooks that were not eye level for your normal 5'5" or 6 foot person, but they started making these things go all the way up to 7, 8 to 9 feet tall up in the trees. To be in the eye line of this creature, or warning and bells. So Master Far said I just watched an episode, ironically, with Bigfoot earlier on next day. Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, but where you live, T.E.A. Fan Geek, I mean,
because most of the reports of Bigfoot are up in the northern half of the state, since that's where it's more rural and there's a lot more forestry that still exists. But I forgot the name of that film, the man who filmed it. It was 1967. Forgot the name of the man who filmed it, but that's the most famous video footage of Bigfoot. Was of these 2 guys walking in the forest, and all of a sudden they notice this creature that they think is a bear walking on its hind legs at first, but then when they start filming it, they realize that it's not a bear at all. The body proportions are all wrong. The snout is very short. The ears aren't pointed out, and there's no tail. And the shape of the paws at the ends of the limbs, they aren't a bear's paw. But one of the things about that film, I'd have to look up the name of it in a moment here, but one thing that happens in that footage, and if you guys look at your action figures of Optimus Primal, like even the Kingdom Optimus Primal figure that was just released by Hasbro, one thing that primates cannot do, is this. They cannot turn their heads with their necks. The muscles in their necks prevent them from turning their heads separately. So when apes have to look left to right, they have to turn their entire upper bodies at their waists to look left and right. And in that film, at one point, this bipedal creature turns to look at the 2 men, and when it turns to look sideways, it doesn't turn its head like a human would. It turns its head that it turns the entire upper body sideways to look at them.
And this is the clip that T.E.A. Van Geek's talking about. I have I have looked over this. I have
Yeah, the
studied
Black
this.
Snake footage of 1967. Yeah,
Yep. Which is known as the Patterson film.
that was his name, Mr. Patterson. Yeah, Patterson.
I went through this. I worked in the industry. I did things to trick your eyes to make you believe that you would see something that's not really there. But and I've looked over this. Yeah, the optical illusion and stuff like that make you think you're seeing a Van Gogh, but it's really not a Van Gogh in the background. Different things with photography and stuff. And I gotta be honest, I have combed over this. This is a footage I've combed over myself. I know others have combed over this footage, and a lot of people that's in the industry of movies and making movies. The closest thing with anything that could be in a monkey suit at this time was Planet of the Apes, and with Charlton Heston in it. And I actually talked to people that actually had worked on Planet of the Apes, and this is a film in which they clearly say, this is a real creature. It's a female.
There's no way that creature could be a human person in a gorilla suit.
No, and it's female. It's female. I was very surprised by this, but when it was enhanced, you actually see when it turned, you actually see its breast.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna play this part right here.
Yeah,
for y'all. But this is them going down. And they admit that they're searching for, here it is, the clip right here. They are searching for this hairy man, this creature. And it turns around. And this right here is, if you look, see if I can make this bigger for us. Let me do that. But if you look right in the middle of the chest and its arms, where the arm is bent, that is its breast. Yeah. And that right there is something that you would not have in a monkey suit. Plus, the way it moves, you can actually see the muscles in it move. That it ripples.
And also, and I want to point this out, looking at that picture, hang on. Let me wait. I was going to say, if you look at that picture, even if that was a female in a Bigfoot suit, that is not possible because the breasts are way too low are way too low. They're not upper more. That's not normal. That females have their breasts like almost all the way up to their full chest. That's kind of like lower. That's off.
And I mean, and there are people that sit there and swear up and down that this is fake, and that there's a guy that came out. And the crazy thing is that he came out and said that he was the one that was wearing this suit, but when you go into dimensions and everything that you're seeing from the dimensions of this right here, this is clearly a 7.5 to 8 foot tall creature. And the man that claims that he wore this suit and was able to make those strides is 5'5". Well, I'm 5'6". Okay, so I have put on a monkey suit, and as a 5'6" individual tried to emulate this in a monkey suit. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make those strides. And I was actually just walking in a field. I wasn't even walking where there was divots and where there was going to be. And I've seen other people. I've seen bigger athletes that have gone and tried to do the same stride that are at least 6 foot and taller. Nikki's family, it has family members that are 6'6", 6'7". I mean, and
oh God,
yeah, I mean they're like giants. So like I live with giants, but still. Their body does not move that way.
But also being able to swing your arms, back and forth like that, and that stride is so wide, and flinging your arms back and forth like that at the same time, you wear out your muscles within seconds moving like that. And if you look at the creature is moving like that with very little effort.
Oh yeah. And also, it turns its head with no problem and all that right there.
It has to turn the whole body because a primate. Now, here is something that I have gone and have dealt with going into ancient texts and ancient dialects. Now, in the book of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh's best friend is a hairy red hairy man, known as Enkidu. He dies, and Gilgamesh can't deal with the fact that his friend, who was a wild man, and it gets detailed. It says the way the wild man was finally tamed is they actually Gilgamesh paid a whore to lay out there naked, and for 8 days and 8 nights he ravished her day and night till he was weak as a man, and Gilgamesh runs out there, fights him, holds him down, and then tames this hairy man who is his now best friend. And this is in the Mesopotamian text. I mean, so we're seeing that the hairy man, the Sasquatch, the Yeti, the Yowie, the whatever you want to call, the hairy man has been around for as long as humans have been around. Now,
but even then, even in real life science, some scientists determined that at some point in the ancient past, humans actually tried to breed with gorillas before we became civilized, because they found that, I don't know how to put this without saying it directly, but below the waistline, where your most vital organs are, they found microscopic mites that are found on gorillas. And the only way humans could have those exact same mites in that area of the body is if they had crossed paths with gorillas and had tried to actually mate with them. So ancient humans, the first human beings first Homo sapiens who saw gorillas thought they were probably another species of human that was just a lot hairier and tried to mate with them in the past. So whether or not any females got pregnant, ancient scientists haven't found evidence yet.
Well, what's interesting is there is a thing that took place in World War II. Hitler actually had his scientists trying out how to create the Uberman. Now, the Uberman in English is known as Superman or Super Soldier, which would be like Captain America. And there is scientific documentation that women in Germany were allowing the scientists from Nazi Germany to impregnate them, put into their bellies, trying to create a hybrid primate/human. Now, the interesting thing is that when you go into the ancient text, there is a creature that is believed to be kind of like before man, but not before creation. Now, it is believed that in certain areas and ancient texts that you have in the Mahabharata and also in India, they honor their, you can look it up, it's actually the Monkey King. And they have a god that is known as the Monkey King, and he is literally described as what a Sasquatch is. The thing is that ancient text actually goes farther back and says, and this is something the scientific community does not acknowledge, which I think is a big issue, because I think if we were to take a look at our ancient past and the ancient texts of what our ancestors have written and told us in our ancient past, and not take it as folktale or some type of fantasy, but actually say, okay, let's look at this scientifically, let's look at this culturally, and let's look at this cross
from a historic perspective.
Exactly, not a religious perspective, but just a historical. It is believed that a hairy race man was a part of the children of the gods. And as the children of the gods, this was the last remnant of the wild man, and that what we would call Nephilim or other things of giants. There were giants in those days, and also after that, when you get the description of a giant in the ancient text, just in the book of Genesis itself, you just go by that, or you go by Not even just Genesis. You go by any other text from the Mesopotamian when it describes a giant. A giant is over 7 to 12 feet tall and is hairy all over. That's a giant. That's the description in the ancient text. If you, the English translation doesn't do it justice, because it just says in the King James, it says giant, which is also the Greek, which is gigantuous. Or if it goes into the ancient text of the dealing with the Greek and also the Hebrew, then you're getting into the thing called the Nephilim. And then when you break down what the Nephilim means, it means one of the fallen ones, but it also means one of the fallen ones that was hairy all over.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you see in the scriptures that it says that God loved Jacob, but he hated Esau. And people are like, wait a second, why did he love Jacob, but he hated Esau? Well, when you take a look at Esau and the description Esau is, it says he's a hairy man, red-haired man. He's hairy all over. He is a descendant from the genetics, and welcome Wildfire Productions. He's a descendant of one of the fallen children. And that's why God didn't bless Esau, but he blessed Jacob. And a lot of people don't realize this, but it was known in the ancient past that the hairy man, the giants of old, were hairy all over from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet. Now, some of them had 6 fingers and 6 toes. Some of them had 2 double rows of teeth in their head.
Yikes.
But everyone is explained to be what we would call a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, a Yeti. Now, right here, I pulled up the Planet of the Apes film. I want you to take a look at one. Got 2 more figures yesterday. Ooh, that's cool. Share with us what they are. So right here is a monkey suit in the same era, same time that this clip that you're going to see took place. Now, this is the best that Hollywood can come up with to create this a man speaking. Yeah. And then you have this that was not done by Hollywood. That you clearly see it move. Its fur moves, its body moves, everything moves. It is still to this day.
Oh, in that one shot right there, the hair moves a little weird too.
Yes.
That's not normal.
You see the muscles moving within this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, Pillatrax and Cup. Cool. Very nice. Very nice. I think Baby Hall found Dino yesterday.
Let me see here.
So
nice.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the ancient text, I'm going to pull this down for just a little bit, and we'll come back to the other clips. But you take a look at these ancient texts, the ancient cultures, and you're dealing with Bigfoot. We think that is make-believe. It's folktale. But did you know that all First Nation people have a story of a hairy man?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, that's one of the reasons why the Patterson film was... why the Patterson film has been looked at ever since it was filmed back in 1967, because one of the mysteries surrounding Sasquatches is that from California up to Alaska, across the west coast of North America, most of the Native American tribes have tales of people seeing a hairy bipedal creature that does not look like a bear walking on its back legs, walking around the more forested mountainous areas, and the creature when it makes a noise, it makes a very loud roar, not unlike a bear's growling.
Yes.
And that most people, when they hear this creature, are terrified to go near it because of how much aggression it shows. Yes. But at the same time, the creature does not like to come out into the open. It likes to hide and not be seen by anyone.
Oh, and see, that's the thing too, is that a lot of times these stories are just overlooked by conventional science due to the fact that it's like, oh, these are just folk tales. It's the same thing that we're going to get into another topic later on, dealing with the supernatural and the crazy. But dragons did exist on the earth. Matter of fact, dragons still do exist. The cool thing is that we call dragons today dinosaurs. But that term didn't come into 1890. So back in back before that, it was known as the giant lizards. Actually, dinosaur means giant lizard, means giant, which would also be a
giant terrible lizard.
Terrible lizard, yes.
Yeah.
And so that's a dragon, any way you look at it. So
science. I'm sorry to interrupt. No, I was just going to say, I saw on television one time that some people think that the legend of dragons started when people in both Europe and also in China found pterosaur fossils and believed that they were species of dead reptiles that had once flown around. Mm-hmm. That's how they think the legend of dragons got started. Was people found fossils of pterosaurs that had once flown, and which conventional science now states that pterosaurs, flying reptiles, did exist at the same time as the dinosaurs.
Well, in the First Nation people, we have stories of the Thunderbird. And the Thunderbird is actually something that was very much we feared. It was a creature, when it flapped its wings, it sounded as if it was thunder. Oh. And you hear the description of the Thunderbird, and that is a pterodactyl. And that is something that First Nation people, especially here in America, had fought to almost extinction. It was known that we had followed it. Welcome, Master Farr. Right. Welcome. So, yeah. But getting back to the Sasquatch part of it, it's interesting that when you have so many things in the ancient past that it tells us, okay, there is a reason why this legend came about. Now, as a scholar, as someone that looks into these things, someone that's my background, you take a look at it and you're going, okay, well, we know that folktales come from an actual true instance. Like that we know for a fact that in ancient past that people just didn't create stories to create stories. They came from something.
Like tape recorders?
Well, tape recorders, but this goes all the way to your oral tradition, stuff that was passed down from generation to generation. It was something that became embedded inside the culture to make you what we now call the boogeyman. We tell that you go out, there's a boogeyman, but there was these stories that were being told that you had to make sure you had to take care of your children and make sure your children knew that they need to be aware. We live in a culture now that we all have our smartphones and nobody really looks around anymore. Everybody's face is kind of like attached to a device. And then there's a lot of things that still get seen and don't get seen. I think Lord Master Starscream's having a cow or something. What's going on over there?
I just thought of something funny. I'm just laughing my ass off right now.
He can't contain his humor. Yeah.
I got crazy. Look, I pay the bills. Come make me a sandwich, woman. I pay the bills. I put food on the table. You do as I say. Go make me a sandwich.
Hey, speaking of
I'm just messing around. No one do that.
I heard
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Anyway, speaking of Bigfoot, I heard this thing on the radio. Hey, if someone found Bigfoot, they wouldn't reveal it. They wanted to keep the legend alive, so he'd kill Bigfoot and pretend he's still out there.
There is
TNA ain't believing.
Well, I mean, there's scientific evidence that says that there is a large primate in Washington State, that there's been hair samples, blood samples, stuff like that.
And footprints.
Footprints too, but the actual genetically DNA.
Oh yeah.
And actually physically found that is no known primate, including human. We have 27 and it has 29, which it goes again, how did it come about? where did it come from? And you know, how is it that this thing is known in every culture around the world?
I don't know.
you
You've seen
have,
Bigfoot, right?
I have not personally ever seen Bigfoot. I have had researchers, I've seen their evidence and pictures and stuff but I have never physically ever seen a Bigfoot myself.
Didn't you
But
say
I
your
had
brother did?
Bubba, my friend Bubba, he actually saw a Bigfoot, and actually in North Carolina, right there at the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina. So yeah, he still to this day claims up and down, him and his other two friends, that they saw one. It was late at night, and it steps out, like, and they're on the road walking, and they're heading back, and they've been out fishing, and they crossed paths. And he said, and for the first time in my life, he says, I was extremely fearful. I'd seen bears out in the wilderness. I had seen, you know, bobcats, coyotes, stuff. But this thing steps out. And so I did he did a interview for me. And so, yeah, people are saying that they're saying, matter of fact, there's a thing till this past year. I didn't realize this, but there's actually a community as a local county in the upper north part of North Carolina, and every year, except for this past year, they have Sasquatch. They have a Sasquatch Day, and people bring their evidence of what they found and share as a community. The mayor gets together, they make it a whole day. People get to come around from all different areas, and
hopefully it's not too touristy. Oyster Bay used to have something like that called the Oyster Festival. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Tourists ruin everything.
Yeah, so I mean,
because you could easily argue that Bigfoot and the Sasquatch is one of the most famous of the cryptid creatures of cryptozoology.
What about the Abominable Snowman?
That's the same
creature.
Same
it's a bipedal primate.
Welcome to the Himalayas.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that gets it too, is that it's also in Australia, known as the Yowie.
I thought it was the Chupacabra.
So Chupacabra
that's Mexico.
Yeah, and that's known, and the actual name for Chupacabra is actually goat sucker, goat blood sucker, and it's more a hairless looking dog type creature.
Chupacabra is not a type of ape. It's almost like a cross between a dog and, I want to say, like I was gonna say a wild boar, but no, I think it's more like a dog and a reptile.
Ruben, you live near Mexico, right? You live in Texas.
Wait.
You guys live in Texas, right?
Yes, I was born in Texas.
You might know something about Chupacabra.
Well, I know. I heard that story. I heard that creature before. My dad told me since I was since when the last time my dad told me that story? I don't remember.
Well, share with some of the story that he shared with you. I'm interested in hearing that.
Well, if I can remember, since my brain is I think
I've seen Bigfoot once.
Now, that creature what y'all is talking about is how do I say in my own word? A goat-eating ugly mofo that sucked the life out of the goats or sheep.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I remember that my dad told me since I was 10 or 9. Like I said, my brain is not good.
No, wait, I've seen ogres before in real life.
I've seen ogres.
Yeah, Maurice Tillett, look it up. He's the real life ogre. He was the inspiration for Shrek, actually.
Really? I
Maurice
did not know.
Tillett.
I'll have to look that
Just
up.
got back for the flea market, by the way.
Did you know?
Oh, funny. I went to a flea market today, too. I got Age of Extinction Optimus. I took off the kibble.
Damn, I still need some of the Age of Extinction finger, but guess what I found?
What?
Oh, Funko Pop is
For
that?
years.
Neat.
Caustic, my boy.
Oh, Apex! Look at you.
I've been looking for this bastard for years since it got released, and I'm
Nice.
complete now.
You got them all now? Congrats.
I got Clamp Champ.
So,
Yeah, I went to a restaurant for the first time today.
Oh. No. Let's go back to T.E.A.
I want to see the figure that you have.
Yeah,
Clamp Champ.
Oh,
Hey, he's cool. He's one of my favorite characters. He was really cool in the Search for Keldor, where he just like took on Scaregirl and Ninjor all by himself.
Nice.
Punching him miles, and he's got like this really cool clamp. And his mirrors the head kind of look like Ernie Hudson, like just.
Sad thing is that Mattel is losing the rights to He-Man in 2023. They're going to go to Universal.
Oh,
Really?
bummer.
Yep.
I wonder why.
Well,
Mattel makes a lot of bad decisions.
Yes, they have.
And poor quality and people quality control.
Yeah, for me personally, ever since George Lucas gave Star Wars over to Disney, nothing surprised me anymore in the film industry. You know, trademarks being exchanged.
Oh, yeah.
And film rights going from one company to another. Nothing has surprised me since then.
What about Endgame and Infinity War?
Marvel is not the same since Disney's took it over.
It's all owned by Disney now.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's why we have the Disney Plus shows with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And by the way, Otto, I'm gonna send you some pictures on Instagram or something like that, because they showed off real quick. They showed off the costume for Miss Marvel, the official suit she'll be wearing, and I'm just saying that's the one Disney Plus show I'm looking forward to, is Miss Marvel.
I thought it was going to be a movie, but never mind. I'm not going to lie, Miss Marvel is the coolest character. Who agrees? Raise their hand.
I didn't hear that.
I need a drink.
Okay.
So, but back to the topic, dealing with the Sasquatch. I mean, there's so in California and the upper states, though, you hear a lot of the stories coming down. I'm curious, has there been anything that you see on your nightly news? Has there ever been like a story, like right now, Fox News is covering the whole thing about a UFO that was over the Pentagon?
I didn't know that. I didn't watch the news.
Wasn't that just some guy throwing a frisbee?
No. Actually, it's going to be interesting. There's some things.
Yeah, go ahead, Autocorrect Primer.
That with dealing with the UFOs and stuff like that, there's things that's been released by the Pentagon, and then that's going to be coming out within the later this year and beginning of next year. That's going to be declassified. So a lot of ufologists is very chomping at a bit to be able to read those reports.
If there are aliens, I know where I'm going.
Well,
hey, Otto.
the thing that there says too is that, and the reason why I brought up the UFOs is that they believe there's even ties to UFOs with the Sasquatch. So, what do y'all think? Do you think there could be a connection between the hairy man and a UFO?
No.
You don't think so?
Well, one seems more connected to humans than a UFO.
I'd like to talk about UFOs one day because I had to do a project for college one time, and what I had to do for that project, I'd really like to share it with you guys one day on one of these videos.
I had to do
a project with UFOs where I explained some of the most mysterious UFO sightings. I explained that I tried to show the origin point of them being from planet Earth instead of being aliens from outer space. And
fake news.
Some of the stranger and undefined UFO sightings, if you try and place the origin point of UFOs from right here on planet Earth, it's even more bizarre than trying to make the origin story for them being extraterrestrials from somewhere else in the universe.
Would the Ark be a UFO?
Yes.
You're talking about from Transformers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a UFO. UFO is unidentified flying object.
Or maybe it's Cosmos, and someone discovered, Transformers exist.
Well, no, I mean UFOs go all the way back to known as in my culture, dealing with the Cherokee and also the Sioux. The stories go all the way back to the Star People and the Star Children. There is hand paintings and stuff like that and oral traditions that point down. And I agree with TFN Geek. I believe that UFOs originate here on Earth and not from another dimension or from another galaxy. But I would like to tell me your side, TFN Geek, on what you, since we're on the topic, because it does go into Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring in the connection with that too.
So for this college project, I covered 6 of the most bizarre UFO stories to ever take place. And when I presented my project, I still remember I went on the 6 UFO sightings. I went backwards through history from like the most recent one to the most ancient one. And
what was the earliest one?
The most recent one I discovered was the 1967 crash in Shag Harbor, Canada.
No, the earliest one.
Oh, the earliest one? Oh, the earliest one, I think it was like 2000 BC. The earliest one I covered was the the Pharaoh's flying saucer at the Temple of Abydos. So if you just look up on your internet browser, type in helicopter hieroglyphics. One day, some archaeologists were at these ancient ruins in Egypt called the Temple of Abydos. It's way out in the desert. It's nowhere near the pyramids. But at the Temple of Abydos, these archaeologists were looking up in this room, and one of them, all of a sudden, they were looking at this row of hieroglyphics on top of this doorway. And this one section of hieroglyphics, I'm not kidding, this is ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics that were carved into sandstone, mind you. There are hieroglyphics of a submarine, a jet, a flying saucer, and a helicopter at this ancient Egyptian temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And give me a second.
You find an image of it?
Yeah, I found an image of it, which I'm going to share it real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So let me do this.
Is that a speedboat on the top?
It's supposed to be a submarine.
Oh, submarine. Kind of looks more like a speedboat. You see the little, like a yacht.
Some people think it might be a tank with the little part on top being the cannon of it.
Well, it's like under it's like a rocket ship.
Take a look at that, you guys. Look at the one on the left of the helicopter. Tell me that is not a helicopter.
That's a military helicopter.
That is a military helicopter. This is actually a real thing. I know someone has actually seen this paragraphed, this right here in Egypt. And I'll try and see if she'll let me share some of her pictures. But this is a real thing. Now it's not allowed to be seen by people anymore because the Ancient Aliens TV show, all of a sudden everyone was going here. Some of it got vandalized. But yes, this is a real image inside of a pharaoh's
temple.
And
Abydos. It's spelled Abydos.
And this is not the only site that you see stuff like this. I mean,
what about the Bermuda Triangle?
I've been to the Bermuda Triangle.
Is it true that once you go in, you're screwed?
I can honestly say that there were some things that happened when I was in. Now let me back this up. That when I was there back in 2005, there were some things that took place and happened that I still can't explain. The color of the ocean changing and the sky changing went from a purple to a teal, and all of a sudden the ocean was completely calm. It was eerily calm, like no ripples, no waves, no nothing.
So it wasn't like a sunrise, and
I didn't have anything that was like instruments or anything that was going off, or compasses not working or anything like that. But
Go ahead, Autocorrect Primer. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh no! And so this is right here, as you can see, some of the stuff where it had been, some of it's been vandalized.
Yeah.
This image that you're seeing right here, this is why it's now been blocked off from humans, because it is believed that people have been trying to come and strip this and take this and leave it to humans or to people to screw something up that now people can't go and see this with their own eyes anymore because somebody decided, hey, I want to go up there with a chisel. And
who said it was humans?
That I mean, it could be
Foil
evident.
hat time.
Okay, how about this?
But anyways,
How about
Autocorrect, can you go back to that image with those different colors on it?
I sure can.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
So when I presented
ahead.
this for my college class, I showed everyone that what they think is that the hieroglyphics originally look like this, but because of modern day air pollution eating away at the sandstone, because that's what this whole temple is carved out of, is sandstone. And sandstone is an oddball material because you can carve stuff from sandstone,
Yeah.
but because it's still sand, over time the individual grains of sand will eventually
Erode.
to erode from the surface of it. That's what they think happened to the nose of the Sphinx. It didn't fall off. That over time, air pollution caused the sandstone to actually erode off of the Sphinx's face.
N-
And so
Now-
they these hieroglyphics, that is what they originally look like, the blue parts, and that the red parts are what's formed as a result of air erosion. But for the amount of but this is part of the mystery of these hieroglyphics.
How did
For
it
the-
form in such a way?
Yeah, but also the amount of erosion that sandstone would have to take to change from looking like that to looking like it does today. Can you, Autocorrect Primer, could you please bring back the image of it today?
Yes, give me
Hey
just a
guys, I
second.
was going to quickly say, if those hieroglyphs are ancient, then how in the heck are they predicting like all that stuff? Like what is seen on those hieroglyphs, or whatever the heck they're called, like the helicopter, the atomic bomb, the
Now-
submarine, and all that
now-
stuff.
Now, what I was going to say, I'm sorry to
Ancient
interrupt
stuff.
you guys. Yeah, what I was going to say is that what they determine is that for the amount of erosion to occur on the sandstone for the hieroglyphics to change so drastically, it's only that section of hieroglyphics that have suffered that amount of erosion. The other hieroglyphics all around haven't eroded as much as drastically as those have.
And those are not eroded either because it's now been proven in 2015 that these were not hieroglyphics that were stamped on top of each other, and that it's not erosion. In 2015, it came out through a geologist that was doing the testing of the sandstone. Says no, these are real. These are how they were actually carved in. And the area in which this is a part of the temple of is not in the outside weather as you would have the Sphinx's head, where it's constant blowing. No, this is an area that's enclosed. So the weathering that they claimed they came from the sand erosion does not fit, because if that was the case, then the whole thing would be certain areas would be completely smoothed out, and they are not. And so it has been disproven that is stamped over stamp. Because also what people don't realize is that two things happen when it comes to hieroglyphics. You had where it was carved in, literally carved in stone, and you were never allowed to touch it unless you were trying to wipe out a dynasty, and you would deface the pharaohs. You would destroy the faces, but you wouldn't destroy the stories. This is literally writing in stone for eternity, and for a priest to go back and go over what's already been put in stone, he would be not allowing his soul to go into the afterlife, that he would be weighed by the balance. And if he had messed with the hieroglyphs, which is also their stories, which is also magic, his life would be forever damned. And so everything they were trying to say that went with this, trying to explain this away, even Egyptologists are now saying that's not the case. There's no way that would have happened. Yes, they would have maybe chipped away if it was a pharaoh's face. They would have chipped away that pharaoh's face. Where
Did they weigh the hearts though?
They weigh the hearts with a feather on the balance.
And if they weighed more than it, they'd be damned.
They would be damned. And if they gone and And in their culture, I mean, you're literally dealing with magic. This is all magic.
We should bring back mummification. It was cool.
It's still a thing today that a lot of us don't know how it was.
I mean, around the world.
Yeah. Now, when you're going,
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Mummify Jeff Bezos once he dies, or something, or Elton John, or.
Well, Elton John's a little bit too late, but no.
Oh wait, he's dead.
No, sorry. I was thinking David Bowie. Sorry.
David. No. I said.
You said Elton John. I was thinking David Bowie because I was like, yeah, he looks like he could have been a. Now here's also something too.
Bowie's dead.
Yeah, David Bowie's dead. Here's something that's very interesting. Now, when we look at ancient artifacts and stuff, did you know that there's a reason why you have the pharaohs and everything have blue eyes?
Dad, it's royal.
It is known that here's Oakley.
Oakley.
It is completely known that the first and second dynasty, that the pharaohs or the children of the gods were fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. And that the first dynasty of the pharaohs were not your darker hair, olive colored. That didn't come until way later. When you had different cultures in that area start to breed, but there's actually races that still have that genealogy and that DNA. Let me see if I can find an image for you real quick.
You know what's even crazier? The Mayans. They were kind of close to how the end of the world, but they were like 8 years off.
Well, the Maya, the story, and this was the thing that a lot of people misunderstood, and this is what happens when you allow pop culture and you allow someone that wants to sell a book tells you the interpretation. No, with the quatrain that was coming to the end of the year 2012 was the end of a cycle. Now, in the Maya calendars, and it's what I went to school for, to deals with ancient cultures and ancient texts, the Mayas believed things went into quatrains. And within these quatrains, there was what was known as the time loop. That's why their calendar was one of the closest calendars that exist. And it's the reason why you had the year 2012, which was coming to the end of that quatrain, which means the end of that age. And the new age would begin in the year 2012, 2013. And within that time of the fifth age would be the last generation. And a generation is, in that culture, 40 to 70 years. And if you go by a generation that goes by the Jews and Israel, a generation is 70 to 80 years. So if you were to go with the numbers of what the Maya calendar actually said for the year 2012, and you go by the Jewish calendar, which also people don't realize had their new set of Aviv started and everything, that in all honesty, the 70 years to 80 years of that generation will be coming up in the year 2029. And in year 2029, NASA just came out and said we're going to have an asteroid that's called Apophis that's going to come by. And if
what does Apophis mean?
Means the destroyer.
Oh dear.
Oh me.
And the trajectory course for it, if it were to get caught by our gravitational pull, which it says
will be,
which is it's actually going to fly between the Earth and the Moon. So if it gets grabbed by our gravitational pull, it is known that it could hit landfall, but it would actually hit in the Pacific Ocean. Now, the interesting thing, if you want to go into the prophecies or go into these texts, and going into these things that I've studied for 26, 27 years. God help, 27 years. Wow. Damn, is right. I was like, wow. Now I can share with you if you want to hear what is believed by the Jewish tradition and believed by biblical texts and stuff. Do y'all want to see scripture where it shows that there is something in the scriptures that says this would happen?
Sure.
All right. So
Really?
let me
Damn it.
pull up the Bible real quick and I'll put it on there. So
Speaking of the Bible, crazy how everything that happened, in the past, during the times of Passover towards the Pharaoh, all happened in 2020. I mean, we even had hail in 2020. Hail where I live twice while I was on vacation. There was hail, darkness, because there was volcanic eruptions that blotted out sunlight. Pestilence, murder hornets, boils. You know what I mean with boils.
oh yeah, I do, and I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to pull two.
Death of the firstborn children was definitely one of them.
Let's do this.
That was definitely one that happened. It's crazy to believe that it all actually happened. The Great Plague.
Let's do this. Yes, all right, so I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to use what's known as the English Standard Version. This just makes it easier for people to see this and be like, okay, I can understand this because it's more of an English dialect instead of a King James or in a. And I'm not going to read it to you in Hebrew where the actual tongue is. So I'm going to or for Greek, the New Testament is in Greek. Not only the book of Matthew was ever translated in Hebrew. All the rest of the New Testament was in Greek. So we have a statement. Let me see. Let me pull this up. Give me a second. Get rid of that. I got to take down some. That's what happens when you have an old computer, and it's like, hey, you want me to do all this stuff? You got to not have.
Dave's not here.
I know.
Dave's not here.
All right, so come on, let's do it.
Jesus.
You guys think we're gonna get the deluxe Bumblebee reissued in Buzzworthy? That seems to be the case.
It is. I saw
Probably.
official images.
Wait, can you show off the official images quickly?
So
I'll have to go back and try to go through my search history on Instagram.
Because it could have been just like a fan edit.
I know fan edit when I see it.
I was going to ask, are you guys excited about Kingdom Road Rage?
I have not heard
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Some Diaclone character.
Yeah, Road Rage is a red repaint. Based on the red Diaclone version of Trax. She's a female character, and it was announced on TFW 2005 that she might be the first Target exclusive Kingdom figure.
At least that one makes sense to be a Target exclusive. It's not like an important character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the case. I'm definitely going to be looking out for it, especially with it being a film bot.
Yeah, because Masterpiece Trax, the Masterpiece version of Trax was revisited and I believe also slightly retooled into Road Rage as
and
well.
Loud Pedal.
Mm.
Are we getting Loud Pedal?
So
we might as well.
I'll show you in the actual scriptures. Okay, so now we're taking a look in the book of Matthew. Is where we're going to be looking, and this is what Jesus tells about the future events that the disciples come to him and they say, okay, when are you going to set up your kingdom? When are you going to do this? And Jesus actually in the 24th chapter actually completely tells us exactly in the order and the times that everything is going to take place, dealing with his return. In one passage that scholars and stuff look at, you're dealing with the abomination of desolation, the Sabbath and stuff. There's one thing where you have false prophets. You have Brian Cohen. And so one thing that takes place is that Jesus says, and this, now I know a lot of people theologically believe that there's a rapture. And I know that it
already happened, people.
Where in the scripture where they get it from, that we will be the word rapture is not in our English dialect, is actually in the Greek. It's repos, and it means to be called up, lifted up. And a lot of people have gone by the Schofield Study Bible and gone by a preacher's interpretation of the scriptures. And that's where people believe that they're going to get raptured out of here before the tribulation period.
Did the rapture actually happen? I just realized all the people dying in 2020.
No, the rapture's not happened. There's a moment that is talked about, is where it happens right before. A lot of people sit there and say, okay, well, God is not going to beat up his bride. He's not going to beat up his people before he passes judgment. Well, it's not God that is causing all the decimation and the turmoil and the
he did in the times of Moses.
He did when he was fighting against the fallen angels. A lot of people don't realize is that the gods that the Egyptians are actually fallen angels, and that was him making war on them and was making it known that this nation that has been blessed by the fallen angels, God came and said, okay, I'm taking the covenant of Abraham and I'm going to ask him to allow them to leave. They didn't allow him to leave. So God hardened his heart. And in doing so, God implemented a wrath of judgment upon the nation that did not call him God, but called the fallen angels their God. And he was showing them that he was greater than the fallen angels. And that's the thing that people don't realize is too. A lot of times people go, well, why does God allow children to die? Why does God allow there to be all this different weather and turmoil and all this stuff? Is because right now, the God of this world is not the one true God, the creator. The God of this world is actually Satan, Lucifer. You actually see this whenever Jesus is being tempted in the wilderness, and Lucifer says, if you'll just bow down and worship me, I'll give you all these kingdoms. Now, Jesus is the Son of God, who is also God. So if Lucifer couldn't give Jesus the kingdoms, then the creator would have sit there and said, you can't give me something that you don't own. But no, he sits there and tells him, says, you do not tempt the Lord thy God. You don't worship anyone else other than the Lord thy God. I know you've stolen the birthright of humanity and you're the God of this world for now, but I'm going to return. I'm going to fix what the fallen angels have done. And I'm going to establish my kingdom. Now, the disciples think that Jesus is here. He's done these miracles. He's caused all this stuff to happen. That means his kingdom is going to start now. But Jesus goes on and says in the 24th chapter, says, no, it's not my time. Right now, I am the suffering Messiah. I have to
He's
suffer.
A very naughty boy. Now go away.
He says, I have to suffer for your sins. The reason why God couldn't look upon Jesus is God can't look upon sin. Now, we're told that sin comes from mankind.
Hubris.
Actually, sin comes from Satan, Lucifer. Because in the ancient text, it is the Nakash that deceives Eve, and Adam is the one that sins. He allows sin to enter into his body through accepting the Nakash, which is what we call the serpent. But in the Hebrew, the Nakash is a seraphim. And God sits there and says that you are going to be punished above all other cattle and everything else on this world, and you're going to crawl on your belly, because it was literally a fallen angel, which is known in the Hebrew tongue as Hael, that beguiled Eve, that caused all this turmoil. He's the one where Jesus sits there and says that there was iniquity found in him and that he had murder on his heart. It means that the Nakash, the seraphim, purposely went into the garden, that he was allowed to go into the garden because he was one of the enlightened ones. He was one of the angelic beings, and he was allowed to go into the garden. And the reason why Eve didn't look at the snake and say, well, how's the snake talking to me, but this ass over here is not saying anything to me? It was because we're told it's a serpent because a seraphim looks like a reptilian, looks like a reptile, looks like a dragon. That's why it's called the red dragon in the book of Revelation, the ancient red dragon.
Why did God even create it anyway?
Now, see, that's the thing too. A lot of people sit there and say,
"Oh,
well,
it was a test."
No. God creates free will. The one thing that God will never, ever do to his creation, he will never take away his creation's free will. Now, God actually decided, and it says in the book of Psalms and also in the book of Job, that God said, I'm going to put 70 angels, and you're going to be over the 70 Gentile nations, and you're going to be their little g God. And you're going to come and you're going to report back to me at the Garden of Eden, which the Garden of Eden was on top of a mountain. Eden was on top of a mountain. And Nakash, which was Hael, which is also known as Eziel and Amadon, he sits there and says, you know what? I don't want them to worship the one true God. I want them to worship me and me alone. And so he decides he's going to make himself equal to God. And he convinces 1/3 of the angels to rebel with him. Now think about this for a second. The creator of this world and his creation, which are the angels, are conspiring to think that they could actually literally overthrow God out of his throne. And it took Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Hael and all these other archangels. There was a war in heaven. The war in heaven is a war that took place outside of time.
Hey guys, do you ever feel like that when the universe eventually ends, it'll just start over?
Well, it does say that in the scriptures. It says there will be a new earth and a new heaven.
Like we just go around, like we don't remember anything. Like,
no,
I had this.
We don't have a reincarnation or anything like that.
No, not reincarnation. I mean, like we literally just like I had the strangest feeling, like I call like in my head, like said, remember what happened or something like that.
You can have
like
deja vu.
No, not like deja vu, like literally the same things. And I got like this strange feeling, like something's telling me that when it ends, it will start again, and like it will be like in a big circle.
Now that goes into the whole thing with Brahma and goes into Buddha, and they believe that you go back to Nirvana and you go into the elixir and you get circled back out and everything just starts over anew.
Sorry.
But God said knows the ending to the beginning. But see, Jesus tells us right here, he says, immediately after the tribulation in those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then will appear in heaven a sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven in power great and glory. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather the elect from the four winds, from the one end of heaven to the other. And so what it says here is that at the tribulation period, pull up the next one, it means that there's going to be a tribulation period. And in the Hebrew belief, it is believed that in the scriptures, it says that when Israel becomes a nation, now Israel became a nation in 1948
BC.
It was, and a generation from that, the full generation that comes, it will be the year 2032. Will be the full 80 years of a full generation. It says that this generation shall not pass away before the return of the Son of Man. Now, in the book of Revelation, it tells us in the 8th chapter that there is an event that takes place right at the tribulation. And this is where it comes into the thing with wormwood. It goes into, it says, let me go up a little higher.
What book are we in right now?
This
the
is
book
the
of Roger?
This is the book of Revelation.
No, right now, like as we're talking, like what book would we be in?
Well, if it's going by the ancient text and you're following the the patterns of Bible prophecy, that would be this right here, which is known as the 7 trumpets of the book of Revelation. So the 7 angels who had 7 trumpets prepared to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail, fire, mixed with blood, and there were thrown into the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burned up.
Oh, like in 2020 with those wildfires.
And then you have the second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures of the sea died, and the ships were destroyed.
Ah, yes, like in 2020.
Well, and what this actually is describing in the Greek tongue is a star that falls down from the heavens, which would be an asteroid.
Hey, Otto.
Yeah.
I just wanted to welcome my little one there in the chat, B girl.
Oh, welcome.
Who's B girl?
That's my little. I'm just saying. I'm not saying who it is, but that's someone close to me in my life. So.
Oh, I didn't know you were a dad.
I'm not today. I don't mean that. That's why I'm not giving out too much information.
And that's fine. Welcome. And so then you go into this topic, which goes into what NASA has been saying or showing. And a lot of people don't know this, but the rabbis believe they have met their Messiah. Now, this is the Tech Science Asteroid Earth, NASA, on April 13th, 2029, a 1,110-foot wide asteroid known as 99942 Apophis will speed past our planet at an estimated distance of 19,000 miles. It's known as a near-Earth object, and it is going to be the closest. And its trajectory, they have no idea what its trajectory course is going to be, since it's going to be in this close to Earth and the atmosphere. The question is, could it possibly actually hit Earth? And NASA has come out and made a statement saying there is a possibility that fragments or it itself could possibly hit the Earth.
Ooh, I hope it's not both.
Same here.
Maybe we'll get another moon.
Well, if you get another moon, you'll have a lot of chaos that comes from that too. But
the only creatures that'll survive will be bacteria.
Hell, maybe if they're lucky, we'll get a few creatures that end up on said moon. Like a few trees, a few. What do we call it? Let's call it Moon Base 2.
So here is the Newsweek, and this is them covering the story called "The God of Chaos: Asteroid Apophis Heads to Earth."
Unicron?
Yeah, I guess we could call it Unicron if we want to, but right here, and this is the date on April. Now, and the crazy thing is that if you go by the Jewish calendar and you go by the Jewish dates and stuff,
just a quick question, are you Jewish?
At the end of that would be at the very end of that generation, which would be us. We would be in that last generation, and that what happens that the tribulation period would start in the year 2024, 2025, and persecution of mankind would take place by man itself, where mankind will turn on mankind and look for a Messiah to save them. But yet he will one second make you think that he is for you, and then the next second he is the Antichrist. And this is all a big if. I'm not setting dates because the Bible says not to do so, but I'm just sharing with you stuff that I've known about for 20-something years. This is what scholars also know about that follow Bible prophecy. I'm just sharing with you what you don't get in the pulpit because you really don't go back to the Greek or to the Latin or to the Arabic or even the Hebrew, which is in my domain, my background. And all these things all the time, and the dates and the seasons and the generational course, everything matches up to this point right here, which means that Apophis, which also means chaos, also means wormwood.
Wormwood? What does that mean?
Poison of water. Which means no fresh water. You could not drink any fresh water after this comes into our atmosphere. That something inside of it would pollute the very water that we would drink.
Regardless, it kills us all.
Well,
Maybe it would prevent the
Even if some
oxygen
of us
hydrogen.
were to survive. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
what was that, TFN Geek?
I'm gonna say maybe it contaminates the water by we zoom in all the way down to the microscopic level. Maybe it prevents the oxygen atoms from correctly bonding with each other.
What about the rain?
That would be a part of it right there, what TFN Geek was saying, which, yeah, definitely would fit within that TFN Geek. It actually would. I didn't think of that level, but yeah. And
so we won't be able to eat.
Nope, won't be able to eat, drink, or anything. I mean, if, and I'm saying this is a huge if, guys, I am not sitting here telling you to be terrified or scared, because there's really nothing you can do to stop an asteroid from hitting the Earth or going by the Earth. There's just no way of being able to do that.
Yeah.
But if you were to look at the ancient text and you would go back to their original meaning, and you would go back to each Bible prophecy. Now, there is a Bible prophecy that I spoke about when I was actually in the pulpit, and what I spoke about on several podcasts and several YouTube channels. As a matter of fact, y'all probably would see some of my videos that are still out there that's got over 4 million views on this topic alone. That other people now have my videos after my channel was taken down. But this is the thing that I talked about on my old channel. And the one thing I said, and I still stick to it, is that none of us know the day or the hour, but it says that right here that that in Revelation 8:11 says, and became wormwood, and many people died from the water because it had been made bitter.
Bitter how? Like cyanide?
A poison.
Yeah, 'cause it's actually very easy to poison water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to use actual poison itself. I mean, waters can be
I gotta go. We're eating cake
ways.
now.
All right, man. Take it
See
easy.
ya. It's my mom's birthday still.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it's very easy to contaminate water. I mean, you just have to put anything that is hazardous for human consumption in it.
Yep.
Well, I was thinking even more disgusting stuff like waste from your toilet.
Yep.
Ugh.
Or oil.
As I was gonna say real quick before you continue, even if when the asteroid does hit, even if some of us were able to survive it, and like what Otto was saying, that we need water. Water is the most valuable thing to the human body and all that stuff. Regardless, even if it hits a lot, 100% will die. Maybe 30% could survive. Regardless, you're dead anyways. You're just gonna die slower because you'll just die of starvation and thirst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you go by what Bible prophecy is that when that tribulation takes place, this is a lot where it comes into, okay, the first half of the tribulation period, you would have where man itself is causing the disasters. And man itself is turning against mankind, attacking people for what they believe, attacking people for who they vote for. I mean, we're seeing that even here in America, which I thought would never happen. But you're seeing right now on the cusp of human civilization, we are at this boiling point where man is willing to turn against man in every way, shape, form, or fashion of chaos ensue, the chaos bringer. That is the first part of the tribulation. The second part is what takes place after this asteroid, this thing that the scripture says actually causes the water to become bitter, what's the thing that would happen? I mean, could you imagine? We wouldn't be fighting over oil or your food or your grain. We would be fighting over pure water. You know, we would be fighting over the basic necessities of human, that any civilization that's ever been toppled, they lost their natural water.
Uh-huh.
And
they died of thirst.
Yeah. And what would happen to the world if all of a sudden you have that take place? You have the chosen, the elect that the scripture says, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're out of here. And let's just hypothetically say that, you know, all the believers are no longer here. And let's say all of a sudden, out of the blue, you have an alien race shows up and says, hey, we're going to help you get your water back. Would you worship God or would you worship them?
I'd rather worship God. I'd rather die.
And that's what the scripture says. It says that you'll have to make a choice. You'll have to make a choice. You'll either love your life and lose your salvation, or you will give up your life and gain your salvation.
I'd rather lose my life and gain my salvation than enjoy my life and worship my salvation.
I mean, and the scriptures are very detailed about that. It says you will have to make a choice. You have to choose. Do I accept this thing of science? Honestly, it's what it would be. It would be science, even if it came from another alien race or wherever it came from, or some scientist here on the earth was able to find how to genetically modify or genetically manipulate, and it would, or you would be willing to genetically manipulate your body to be able to digest the water. You know, you would have to make a choice. Do I change the temple of God? Because that's what the scripture says, that when you take the mark of the beast, you're what it means about the right hand of the forehead means you give up your free will and you give up your authority because you genetically alter your body.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you have a scripture that's 3,000 years old that's telling us that the entire thing about the Bible is a genetic code. When we take a look at Noah and we're like, well, Noah was a righteous man. Well, when you take a look at the Hebrew, what it actually means he was a man without blemish, without blot, was an actual last human being. He was the last lineage of Adam. He had not been genetically altered or changed. That's what it means. It means he was literally human. And his wife was human and his sons were human, but he had to pick daughters for his sons, and the daughters were not genetically pure. And that's where it goes in. It says God loved Esau, but God hated Esau, but he loved Jacob. It's because from Noah and from the lineage of those daughters, that corrupted DNA was manifested in Esau and not Jacob. It's all a genetic code from Genesis to Revelation. God says, do not mix my seed. Do not mix my animals. Do not mix your seed with others. He's very adamant about the Israelites not copulating with the Gentile nations, because there is a corruption within that genetic code. Because it has to be a pure genetic human that is from the lineage of Adam that has to come into the world to be the Messiah, which would be Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is where he was literally pure human, but he was also spiritually pure from God, the Father. And so after that moment, then all of a sudden, the Gentiles come and say, hey, can you heal my family? Can you do this? And he sits there and looks at a woman and says, you know, do I feed the food to a dog? And she says, well, master, even the dogs eat the scrap off the ground that the master drops. And he says, very well spoken. And he's talking to a Gentile woman. He says, and because of your faith, your daughter's now healed. Because he says there's going to be a time in which God, my Father, me, are no going to look at the genetic code. We're going to look at the spiritual code. And that's what comes from the crucifixion. That's what Jesus is, the fulfillment of the law. It is the law of nature that Jesus has come to fulfill. Spirit law is what comes in after that. And that's why Gentiles can now worship and follow the one true God. And while we are saved by grace and saved by the blood of Jesus, not by sacrificing a lamb or a duck or a turtle dove or an ox.
Yeah.
And that is the literal Greek, Latin, Arabic. That's literally what that text actually says.
That's what the ancient text.
Exactly. That's what the ancient text exactly says, word for word.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when I'm looking at ancient texts and I am able to see that one word that we okay, in the English language, if we say there, how many different theirs are there?
3 at least.
God. Oh.
No,
3.
he means like spellings of the word there.
Yeah, but they have different meanings.
I thought he said bear, bro.
Bear.
Like bear.
No,
There's no bear.
there.
There.
Say bear.
There's at least
Someone say
3
bear?
versions. There's at least 3 words that make the sound there when you say them. There's THERE, THEIR, and THEY''RE.
Mm-hmm. Now, with those, you speaking it determines on what there I'm referring to by where the vowels and the verbs and everything set in within that sentence, so that you'll understand which there I'm talking about, because those 3 theirs are totally different from each one. One's possessive, one's over here, one means to own. They have a different meaning. Same thing comes into the Hebrew tongue. Every V and Vav and Tiv that is in the Hebrew tongue is not only a letter or a word, but it's also a number.
Mm.
So when it says that the Antichrist or the son of perdition and his number is 666, and those that are wise will be able to recognize that name, it's telling you that it's not the physical 666. It is the mark of the beast. It is the individual.
The devil's work.
It is the individual of man that emphasizes the work of man, that calls man to believe that he can be equal to God.
Mm.
And it means to give up your free will and give up your authority. That's what it means with forehead. That's what it means with your right hand. So and if you read the scriptures, there is no saving grace to anyone that receives the mark of the beast.
Ugh.
No saving grace.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
The reason why is that it means that you genetically change yourself. You do something to your body that you are no longer the temple of God.
Like, how do you mean?
What I mean is that like you X-Men.
What time of? Huh?
Let's take a look at the X-Men. Okay.
Okay.
Let's look at Captain America. Captain America is the thing I've always been able to use. Captain America is the embodiment of science and nature. And you take this little wimpy guy that has polio and has had issues and disease. And
I didn't know Captain America suffered from polio.
Yep. And then you put him into this machine, and it genetically enhances his body, and he becomes this super soldier. And he's now able to run fast. He's able to throw a shield. He's able to do everything and have super strength. Well, he has taken his body and he has enhanced his body differently than the way that God intended our bodies to be.
Yeah.
He was used as an experiment.
You got Anthony. You got Iron Man. Iron Man is what is known as a transhuman. It is a person that takes robotics and enhances his body through robotics. Again, genetically altering his body to have enhancements.
Yeah.
Or nanotechnology.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but when you're taking a look at what it literally means in the text, you're going, wait a second, what? And that's for me, okay, from someone that didn't believe in God, got sick with cancer, that did experimental drugs on my body with the cancer that I had. Then all of a sudden learn about all this. A lot of people will sit there and say, okay, well, you had cancer, you did chemotherapy, you did radiation, you did this other stuff. Does that mean that you're going to go to hell? Because I've had this question asked. If I had that done, no, that's not what's sending me to hell. It's the knowledge of changing myself willingly. When God lets you know what sin is, it's up to you whether or not you want to keep committing that sin. Matter of fact, the scripture says that if you become a Christian and a believer in Jesus Christ, and he's convicted your heart, but yet you keep on doing that conviction, you keep doing that thing that's called sin, and you think, well, if I go back to church on Sunday, I'll just ask God to forgive me then, or I'll take a wafer and a cup of wine, and I'll have my communion and I'll be white as snow again. No, it says that if you willingly sin, when God convicts you of a sin that is what he calls sin, and you still do that sin after receiving the gift of salvation, you do not lose your gift of salvation. You still allow to have your gift of salvation, which means you get to be with him in eternity, but you do not get any rewards. And everyone will look at you and recognize you didn't get those rewards, which means you it's what I call fire insurance. You knew there was an afterlife, and you wanted to be able to make sure you made that afterlife, and you would be okay if you had to clean the toilets of heaven to get there, but you were going to still live the life you wanted to live. Then that becomes into the question of, do you love God more than yourself? Do you love Jesus more than yourself? Or do you love yourself more than Jesus? That is the end all be all, the absolute sin that if you choose wrong, that is the one that's going to prevent you from going into eternity. Do you love Jesus more than yourself, or do you love yourself more than Jesus?
Yeah.
When Jesus says there's sin, that says that if you do this one sin, the Holy Spirit will never forgive you. You want to know what that sin is?
Rejecting God's word.
Loving yourself more than God.
Loving
your free will, loving yourself, loving the world, loving everything else, and putting everything else before God.
This is something I'm sure we're gonna have a talk, but when I was a kid, I thought loving myself was like a gay term, and I never did love myself. I just love God more than anything. Out of anything and anything I own or the people I'm with, I love God more than anything.
And no, that and that's okay. I mean, I tell people all the time, it's not a sin to care about yourself. It's not a sin to enjoy things that's in this world. It's not.
No.
The only term I could think for loving myself is taking care of myself and making sure I'm doing okay or something like that.
I mean,
that's okay.
Jesus didn't come to create a.
What I've got. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. Go ahead.
What my church has been telling us, it's okay to take care of yourself and to have appreciation for earthly things like the houses we live in and the clothes we wear, but it is not okay to idolize those things, to put them on a pedestal and give them more appreciation than you do God. That is what is that's what crosses the line from being faithful to God and being faithful to sin.
And he's at that, and your church is absolutely right. That is absolutely it.
Yeah. Every time I'm in my room, sometimes, and if I walk in, I look at all my stuff. I'm like, these things never created me. God created me. There's only one creator.
Yeah,
This is not. None of this stuff is my God. I always say that to remind myself in the brain and all that. And I always say that.
One thing I got, and this is a thing that I used to get attacked for more than anything, especially with me being a teacher and stuff like that. They would see the action figures or the toys that was in the background, and I would always get these Christians that would come in and be like, "Oh, you've got all that stuff in the world. That means you love that more than God." And I'm like, no, all this stuff could burn and it wouldn't bother me. I enjoy it, yes.
It's just a hobby.
Exactly.
To do.
I sorry, if someone said that, I will punch them and say that. Never say that again.
Yeah, a few years ago, I accidentally broke one of my Transformers figures, and I was like, okay, so it's broken. At least, okay, now I'll throw it out and see if I can see when I can get around to buying a replacement.
Yeah.
But last year, when I had a kidney stone, I realized, oh, Lord, help me, I only have 2 kidneys then.
Nikki has 1 kidney.
Ugh.
Damn.
And so...
Yeah, and the thing with and the reason why people are extra cautious about the kidneys is that the cells that make up the kidneys, if they get damaged, they can't restore themselves.
They cannot.
The kidneys are the one vital organs in the human body that cannot heal themselves. The other organs, the lungs, your liver, your heart, if the right treatment is done, they can all self-heal themselves. But your kidneys, no. Once they're damaged, they're damaged.
Yep. Nikki had cancer on her kidney, which was a Wilms tumor. That's why she only has 1 kidney. Several years back, when I was working in the movies and working and stuff like that, and also writing my book and doing stuff with the ancient text, Nikki's health went downhill rather quickly, and I got attacked on YouTube by the trolls and finding out where I lived and everything like that, and made our life a living hell, literally, during that time. And I came close to losing Nikki, and I walked away from all of it. I got rid of. I was no longer on YouTube. I was no longer on podcast. I was not going into book signings because Nikki needed me more than me trying to evangelize or try and help other people whenever you have the hated trolls that were on this platform. One of the reasons why we're moving is because of that. It's that real. That's why I tell y'all to protect your names, protect who you are. If you do giveaways, make sure you do it where you don't send your actual address or anything to it.
Act with the utmost discretion.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why for years I never actually started a YouTube channel, was because I knew the amount of privacy the internet offers is technically zero. The internet offers absolutely no privacy at all once you sign on to it.
Yeah,
it's true.
It is. I mean, and I learned the hard way. And, and even within this community, they didn't understand whenever that stuff started coming back up. And I had to step away again because these same individuals, all of a sudden DSS was called on my sister and my nieces were being taken away. So when I had to step away for a little bit, it's from those same individuals. I mean, and so after doing things to protect myself, my family, and us no longer being here and moving, it just goes to show you that man, if he's given the option, and that's why I tell people all the time, you don't have to worry about some demon, from hell to open up the gates of hell that comes out of hell, because man is already allowing those demons to mess with their minds as it is. And when you're dealing with the tribulation, you're dealing with the first part of it, where man is really being completely evil to itself, which is alarming, because for me, there's a prophecy that I wrote about and I talked about, and it happened back in 2012 and 2014. It was dealing with the Maya calendar, but it was also dealing with the Judeo-Christian calendar also, and dealing with the Aviv and everything there. There was a Bible prophecy of a city that has never been destroyed since its creation. It had never been destroyed. It goes all the way back to Jericho, goes all the way back to Troy, goes before Rome was ever even thought of. And this city has been in existence all the way up to the year 2014. Do you know what city it was?
What?
Now, the Bible tells us in Ezekiel that this city will become a ruinous heap, which means that it's going to have a devastation so much done to it that when you look at it, you're going to just see it as nothing but rubble, as rocks upon rocks. Now, this city has never been sieged. This city had never been attacked. This city had never been destroyed. It has always existed, and the city was known as Damascus. Guess who destroyed Damascus?
Who?
Nobody. That was just my guess.
You said nobody?
Yeah, I said nobody
who?
because. Well, he said who. I said nobody because I heard. The reason why I say that is because you said it's never been destroyed.
I'm gonna guess. My guess is that it was destroyed by its own people.
Destroyed by its own people. Okay.
Ruben, you want to make a guess?
He said.
I'm all out. Besides, I need to go to take a shower because I smell like death for no reason. I was so sweaty. It's hot outside, by the way.
The United States of America destroyed Damascus in the year 2014. It had never been destroyed, had never had anything happen. And then all of a sudden, we went to war with Syria. And when we went to war to Syria, with Obama as the president, he bombed one city and one city only. It was Damascus, and it was made into a ruinous heap. At that moment, end time prophecy began.
Wow. I thought end time prophecy began earlier than that.
No, it says that when the last generation will be when the Israel nation becomes a nation and Damascus is made into a ruinous heap. At that moment, know that the fig leaf, the fig tree bloom is soon, and the fig tree bloom is the last tree that blooms in season. And that will be the last generation. So from the year 2014, when it was made at Damascus, we are what's known as the fullness of the Gentiles, which is mentioned in the Bible, the fullness of the Gentiles. And we are in the blooming season of what's also known as Jacob's trouble and also known as the fig tree. Matter of fact, Jesus curses the fig tree because it didn't have anything on it. And they cursed it and spoke it, and it drew up and died. And
no wonder I hate my neighbor's fig tree.
So
I have a fig tree in the backyard, and when my parents and me, we're okay with it.
And figs are okay. But here's the thing. Did you know that Adam and Eve, you know what vegetation they sewed on themselves to cover up their nakedness?
What?
Yeah, fig leaves.
Fig leaves.
Fig leaves, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Goes all the way back to Genesis. Isn't it? It's amazing when you take a look at all the text and this, there's written about all these, it's inspired by God, but you're seeing everything as it goes through. That's for me why I turned around and just started studying the Bible, because I was like, it's the most interesting book that's out there, because Bible actually means library.
Yeah.
Damn.
And that's one thing. And that's a trivia question I actually got years ago. I can't remember the source, but someone said, if you want to read a book that has every genre and type of story that has been told throughout human history, there's only one book in the world that qualifies, that falls into that category of having every single type of story that's ever been told.
Mm-hmm.
And that book is
the Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so when you see all that and you take place, and then you're looking at 2014, And then there's going to be signs in the heavens, and there's going to be other things that take place. That after that, there was another event that took place. It was known as the 4 blood moons. And so when people talk about the Maya calendar was talking about the end times and it was going to happen that date, no, it was saying that quatrain came to an end and the Great Destroyer would come next. That's what it actually says in the Maya text. The Great Destroyer will come next.
Yikes.
So if you take a look at all the ancient texts and all these ancient prophecies of the 5th age and stuff like that, and you take a look at the scriptures, you're like, okay, there's some alarm bells going off. It's time for me to sit back and really reflect and make sure I'm making good life choices. So, but yeah, very appreciate it. We went from Bigfoot to the end time prophecy.
Yeah. Might want to change the title of your video.
I think I will. I just thought of that. I was like, look at it.
Welcome back to Bigfoot.
Bigfoot at the end. I'm going to call it Bigfoot at the end times. Oh, let's do that. Where's the, I'm going to change it.
Careful.
Hey, Otto.
Yes, sir.
I'll be right back, right? Just keep the stream going.
Oh, I am. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick while the stream's going, and I'll be right back, guys.
Oh, hey. That room. Oh, I'll wait until you get back.
Yeah. I'm going to take a long, good shower.
You gonna enjoy yourself?
Take care, Ruben. Bye.
Anyways. So, you get anything new, man?
No. I wanted to go to Walmart today when my family went out of town, but they said no. So I didn't have a chance to look for any Netflix figures.
Oh, yeah, my family went to Walmart today. And yesterday and today. If I'd known about that, I would have wanted to go. But so I went, oh, man. Because I was hoping I would probably find something.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'll be able. The only Netflix figures that I'm actually looking for now are the 2 of the new deluxe figures. The Theseus Army drone, the Siege Ironhide repaint, and then the Sparkless bot.
Even though I already got this mold, I really want to get that deep cover figure.
Oh yeah.
And I saw a post on Instagram that made me laugh. They took the Netflix deep cover figure and they put subtitles on it where he says the name's Cover, deep cover.
I
just started laughing at that. But yeah, that's a figure I'm looking forward to getting. And
I'm gonna go over the Selects version myself.
I really want to get that one too. I think that's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive or something. I think that one's available on Amazon now.
Yeah, it is.
Let me grab my phone real quick. Give me a minute. Okay. Yeah, and I'm hoping that Kingdom Ultra Magnus will be in stock on the 7th of this month because I really want to try to get.
If you want to get Ultra Magnus right now, Lord Master Starscream, he's available on Best Buy's website.
Oh shoot! Okay.
And at retail price too.
Do they have them shipped to you and all that, or do you have to go?
Yeah, within 3 days. That's how I got half of my Kingdom figures was from Best Buy.
Oh, okay. I'll have to see if they're in stock in my area.
Yeah. Beast Wars Megatron and Cyclonus are sold out, but when I last checked the other day, Ultra Magnus was still there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely ask my sister. Hopefully.
Most people don't think that Best Buy is a place that sells Transformers action figures, but I've noticed ever since Toys R Us went out of business here in the States, Best Buy's picked up some of the merchandise that used to sell at Toys R Us.
Yeah. Yeah, that Kingdom Ultra Magnus looks cool, and I'm glad you got that figure.
Yeah.
And I also want, even though I already have the Siege one, I still want to try to get the Netflix version. Maybe that way I can play with that one, and I can leave the other one on the shelf. Because I really want to get it. Huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm passing on Netflix Magnus because I want to see if I can save up enough money to buy Netflix Soundwave.
I saw him just now on Amazon, but that's just a stupid price right there.
Yeah,
$70.
that's the cheapest he's been going for.
What the
Netflix Soundwave.
Oh yeah,
he's going for $70 on Amazon.
See, and I had a chance to get it for $20, but I already got one for Nikki.
I like the price of the Siege one now. He's going for $46, and the Netflix one is going for $44 or $41. Excuse me. And there's the Kingdom one in the center.
Yeah, Ultra Magnus. Yeah.
And also, Otto, there was a. I'm gonna wait before I can have this figure ordered. I did. You know the not Kingdom, the Planet X figures, the third-party War for Cybertron or all the Cybertron figures.
Yeah.
Let me see if I could show you this one. I'm interested in, and I'm hoping one day I can try to get the Triptychon Part A and Part B, and also the not Ultra Magnus, the Omega Supreme. And yeah, here's the figure. Let me see if it's still in stock. If it'll load. Yeah, it's going for $69 in stock. This is an Ultra Magnus I would like to get.
Yes, that's actually a nice looking one.
Yeah, I was going to send you that, but I was going to send you that. Also, if possible, I might one day if I can send the Planet X Ratchet. But I was like, you know what? Let me wait this week, and I'll see what I can find. And also, they have the Ironhide also for $54. So yeah, like I was saying, I was gonna send some stuff to you, but I was like, I'm gonna wait. Go ahead, Otto.
Oh, no, y'all are fine. I was just,
I was telling Lore Master Starscream the two Transformers figures I'm personally looking for right now are the Netflix the Decius Army Drone and the Sparkless Bot.
Cool. Well, let's do this. Let's end this stream. I'll start stream right up, and I'll put the link in the description, and it'll be on Talk on Transformers.
Oh, cool.
All right, let's do that. I'll end this one, and then we'll do the other one.